Hey guys, what's up? Spenny here. So Palantir's Chief Operating Officer just had an interview and he had some very important points during this interview. Some of the things that he mentioned that really got my attention is that he stated that Palantir is going to be offering their software for free. Now, this is only going to be offered for free to certain companies that are involved in the reopening of the economy and getting countries back up to speed. However, I actually think this could be a huge opportunity for Palantir. One thing we know about the company is that they have an incredible retention rate. Once a company starts using Palantir's product, it's very likely they will continue to use it. So, by offering it to free, you're going to have tons of new companies using Palantir's product, and it's a very sticky product. So you're going to see a lot of these companies over time start to pay for Palantir's service when it's eventually not free for them. I think this could actually really accelerate their growth and really get Palantir's name and product out there to the masses even faster. And they also cover a lot more interesting things during this interview. They talk about Cathie Wood and her retail army interest in the company. They have a very short conversation around that. Another really important thing they talk about is Palantir's involvement with Bitcoin. So it is being looked into if Palantir could be used as a weapon from China to basically disrupt the United States in different ways. It's something that needs to be thought about and at least looked into. I think Palantir is going to play a very important role into that into the future here. And another thing that he talks about that I think is so important for any investor to actually take into consideration is moving into the next 10 years, a lot of companies are going to be disrupted and their business models are going to fail. Palantir is a resilient and future-proof company, and that is going to hold incredible value because there is so many companies out there that are just zombie companies that can't even service their debt, and they're all going to fail. Palantir has no risk of that, and you can't really put a price on that right now, especially considering Palantir is also going to grow incredibly fast. It's one of the best high growth stocks out there without a doubt in my opinion. Anyways, he talks a little bit around that, and I think it's really important for investors to take that into consideration when they are investing into a company, especially right now. And so anyways, guys, I'm going to play this clip for you. It is 7 minutes long. Normally I do trim these interviews. However, I find it very important, the entire interview. Right now, as a Palantir investor, most of us don't fully grasp the company. It's not an easy company to fully understand. So right now, as an investor, you should really be focusing on understanding the company as much as possible in order to really reinforce that conviction you have. So anyways, guys, I will play the whole clip for you. I suggest watching all of it. There is really key points throughout it. And also, if you want to see more Palantir updates, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I do try to find as much relevant information around this company for you guys.
A lot of the companies and governments that buy your software had a real shock to the system when the pandemic hit. And now they're feeling another shock as the world reopens. You're talking to these customers around the world. What trends are you seeing in terms of what they're feeling as the world starts to come out of this?
I think the customers that are really eager to reopen, really reinvesting in this right now, see that the shocks are likely to continue, that an efficient organization that's fragile is not the future. If you really want to thrive and survive into the future, you have to expect continuous disruption. And so how do you build your organization, whether it's a container ship blocking the Suez Canal or a public health emergency? These things are going to continue to happen.
So let's talk about, are there countries or governments that you find are better at reopening or faring better as this transition back to some sort of new normal happens?
Well, we see this in part in our own business, where the U.S. commercial business is really on fire, and I think that's in part a function of how well, on a relative basis, the U.S. vaccination program has really gone. And I think that the countries that are succeeding on the vaccination front are going to be in a better position here, and that we all have an obligation to help every country get there.
Now, government demand for your software, as I mentioned, surged in the midst of the pandemic, helping with vaccine rollout, helping to predict COVID hotspots. What's your big takeaway from this last year as the COO, and how do you keep growing the government business, which makes up roughly half your revenue?
So we helped over 100 organizations, government and commercial, in the context of the pandemic, helping them with durability of operations, helping them with disrupted demand, shocked supply, allocating PPE and vaccines, as you mentioned here. And the thing that sticks out to us across all these experiences, across all these organizations, is that they are all structurally stymied by how locked in their data is to legacy systems. That was really the first problem we were helping all these customers with, is getting at their own data to make better sense of it, make better decisions with it, to drive their business and survive or provide a public service. And really, Alex mentioned this on Monday, but we're going to be offering our software for free to all major companies around the world who employ large numbers of folks who are crucial, who make and produce and distribute things that are crucial to restarting the economy, to help get things restarted, help get back to full unemployment, make sure that no one is left behind simply because they're locked into old platforms.
Now, Kathy Wood's ARK Invest just added you to their fund. She's got a huge retail following. Just today, there's been a ton of chatter online among retail investors about Palantir. How do you feel about this new interest?
We're proud of our investor base. We're excited by the folks who are cheering us on and really believe in our long-term vision here. I would reiterate Alex's position in our own. I've been at Palantir for 15 years. I certainly hope that I'll be lucky enough to be here for 15 more. And we're building a really sustainable business for the long term that we think can be one of the most important software companies in the world.
Now, Palantir has pitched itself as the operating system for government, and yet you've got privacy advocates out there who are concerned about this outsized influence and claim that it's allowing companies and governments to weaponize data to perhaps find and deport individuals from certain countries or unfairly target people of color. What's your response to some of this criticism?
Well, in an open society, we welcome this sort of critiques. I think the thing that's actually very misunderstood about Palantir is that we don't hold any data. We don't collect any data. We help our customers bring together their data in our enterprise software platform to make better decisions. But we do that with the principled perspective. A huge swath of the 15 years and $3 billion of R&D that we put into our products is actually about enhancing privacy while enabling effectiveness of businesses or government organizations. So whether that's Datenschutz in the German context or privacy and civil liberties in the Anglosphere, helping companies actually be more effective and more compliant is crucial. If you look at the work that we've done with NHS England with the vaccine rollout, we've incorporated an entirely new privacy framework called purpose-based access control that I think is going to be the gold standard for how you protect the information of citizens, how you govern the use of the data, how you ensure data and AI models are only being used for the purposes that are legally allowed, and you have a full audit trail, full inspectability. I'm really excited about that.
Now, Palantir has offices around the world, but you just moved headquarters from Silicon Valley to Denver. You've personally just moved to Denver yourself. There's always been this sort of lore and mystique around Palantir, this, the defending the Shire and Lord of the Rings references. How has the culture changed since Palantir's become a public company? And is there a new Palantir emerging in Denver?
Well, I've always felt that culture is something you have to wake up every day and fight for, and that the entropy of the universe is really something that slowly eats away at it. So I think Palantirians are a motivated group to preserve and enhance our culture. It's what makes it special to be here. And COVID really reinforced that, just the purpose, being on the front lines, helping institutions, helping save lives is just so rewarding. It's immensely rewarding. And that's true whether we're in Stockholm or Tokyo or Denver or Palo Alto. As you mentioned, we've had 30 offices or so around the world for a long time now. And for this next phase of our growth here, as we grow substantially with industrials, manufacturing companies, and healthcare, Denver is really the right home for us.
Now, your chairman, Peter Thiel, has expressed concern about Bitcoin, that it could be used by China as a financial weapon. And then there's been ensuing speculation that Palantir software could somehow help counter that. What are your thoughts on his remarks, and is there any appetite to use Palantir technology to that end?
Well, I think there's no doubt that crypto in general is a disruptive force, and disruption can be good and bad at the same time. It's a little quantum in that way. And so I think we should be asking these questions. We should be thinking about it. we should be exploring it from all angles. And we certainly are from our approach at Palantir.
Now, I want you to take us into the future. We've got about a minute left. In the last year, so many companies and governments have compressed years of tech adoption into one. What does that mean for the next 5 to 10 years? How differently positioned are they to perform?
Well, I think the pandemic has taught us all, and the subsequent crisis to that the sort of heuristics, the equilibrium that we used to live in is not coming back, and that you should really be planning for a future of constant disruption. And so how resilient is your institution? In the government context, that's the legitimacy of the institution, the ability to serve its people and to keep us united as a society. In the commercial context, it's existential, your ability to survive. Are you going to be around in 10 years? And so I think a lot of the technology acceleration has shown where the emperor has no clothes and what investments people should be making in to have a resilient organization going forward.